I'm not me can't even go to Starbucks and get my local mango dragon fruit lemonade without people asking me to tip them. You know what I'm saying? Like everywhere I go, Dunkin' Donuts, Krispy Kreme, like everywhere I go, there's an option for me to tip. It's like, yo, why do I gotta be subject to this pressure? You know what I'm saying? Like, of course they know what they're doing. Like that is in front of you. There's people behind you looking at you. They're looking at you. Again, I'm not saying you should fall for pressure. Like, who gives a fuck at the end of the day? It's your money. You do what you want with it. But it's just interesting to me that they even attempt. Like, you're doing your job, and yet I have to pay extra money on top of the tax and on top of the cost of the food that's already marked up because I'm going to an establishment that has all this overhead to cover in order to provide me that food or that product or that service, whatever. I've worked at a steakhouse before as a server. I understand how tipping works. I'm not just some uninformed person that's rambling about how I don't want to tip and like that, you know what I'm saying? But in certain scenarios, it is a little bit OD, but we'll get into it. There's something if you're new to America or thinking about moving here, it's something you could definitely got to understand, you know? It's really not optional or something you do out of your heart. It's almost expected, demanded, and a lot of times you'll just go to a restaurant and that just be on your bill. So just something to be aware of. So one thing I realized when I used to work in my steakhouse, anytime somebody from the UK would come, like we just know we're not making no money. You know what I'm saying? Like we would just know that we're not making no money. And that's because it's just not a cultural thing to do there. I say this to let y'all know that it's not everywhere in the world that you're forced to give somebody a 20% tip on top of what you're paying them. In my opinion, it's just a way for employers to pay their employees a little bit less, which again, I don't blame them. For me, it's crazy that even if your server's up, you know, getting your order wrong, you know, brings out the wrong food, you're still expected to give them the lowest amount or that 15 or 18%. Again, to me, your bill's $500. Why does this person deserve 75, 85, $90? Even when I was a server, I was like, I don't know why people are giving me this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I rack up a $700 bill, you know what I'm saying? Like, and people are giving me $120, $140 for what? Because I walked around and took your order while I had 4 other tables. It doesn't make sense. I believe the whole tipping culture exists just to encourage service workers. Again, those jobs, they'll really bring a lot out of you. And sometimes it's hard to be nice. So again, it's just a way to incentivize the service workers to be as nice as possible in the hopes that they'll get a tip. And restaurants are smart. Like, why would they pay their employees extra money when this whole tipping culture exists that they kind of forced and people are just going to pay the workers for them? Who wouldn't sign up for that? Pay my worker $10 an hour. They still make $40, $50 an hour. Everybody's happy. But yeah, it's just something to be aware of. Don't feel pressure to tip wherever you go. Even if you're at a restaurant, you know, if you don't feel the need or if you don't have the money to tip, I would just say don't do it. Again, I personally tip, but a lot of that is because I used to work at a restaurant. If I never worked at a restaurant, I don't know if I'd be tipping people, you know, the way I do. You know what I'm saying? Just know for any service or any food, like when you take a Uber or whatever you're doing, like the Uber is gonna want to tip. The person bringing your foods to your house, your pizza delivery guy is gonna want to tip. You know, just these service roles are typically just not paid too well, especially in comparison to the cost of living. So it's just kind of how society operates. Barbers, your nail tech, your lash tech, your hairstylist, everybody's gonna want to tip. So again, it's just something to be aware of and something you should account for when you're going out to get these services. At least if you're gonna tip, at least know beforehand, okay, like the service says it's $50, but it's gonna end up costing me 65, 70. You know what I'm saying? Just depending on how generous you are and how good of a job they do and how good their customer service is. But yeah, the system, just to tell you, the system's rigged and this is literally built into the economy. So it's just something you should be aware of. I like to call it an invisible tax that nobody kind of warns you about. In a perfect world, you know, a tip would be rewarding excellence, rewarding somebody who's going above and beyond, right? But in America, tipping is just about covering for corporations who don't want to pay people right. You're dropping a lot more of these type of videos just to make sure that you're ready when you finally decide to move here. You already know, new sauce every 2 days. Like, comment, subscribe. Welcome to America.